Hello and welcome to an intro video created for you, WMI Scholars, talking about a new resource that has been developed by our WMI regional coordinators. Our regional coordinators have developed the Community Development Grant Application Made Easy How-To Guide. This is a document which is available for all WMI scholars and specifically for graduate scholars who are applying for the Community Development Seed Grant opportunity. This document will guide you in preparing different required sections for your application. This video is an introduction to the different parts of that how-to guide. So we hope that you will watch this video and then use the document, the guide, as a way forward throughout your application process. So follow along. We will be going part by part throughout the full how-to guide. And we'll also include a link in the video description after so that you can access this document. Finuela, our WMI regional coordinator for West Africa, will begin.
And so we'll be starting with the first section, which is the title, how to write a unique title. The title gives an overview of the proposal and it is central for making a good first impression. So it is important for you to keep it short, interesting, and focused on the project. Think about the keyword and work with that in writing a title. Now, in writing an abstract, it is very important to remember that it highlights the project's key points. So it is important in writing the title to think about the important aspects of it. Who, what, when, where, and why. Who are the target beneficiaries? What is the category? Are they women and girls? Are they vulnerable children? What is the problem exactly that you have identified and what is your solution? When will you carry out this project? What date? How long? Will it be a one-time event or an ongoing one? Where will it be and where will you be? How will you be involved in this project? Why? Why is your proposal the solution to that problem? And it's important also to state how much funds you're requesting. In talking about the needs assessment, it just gives an overview of the community needs, what your community needs at that time. So this part of it tells the reviewer why your project is valid and why it should be approved. And in assessing the community needs, it helps to make your community project more effective. So it is important to involve the community in planning and trying to assess these needs.
So writing a SMART goal is very important for a project, as the goal states what you hope to achieve with your proposal, while your objectives state specific deliveries on how this goal is to be achieved. So the SMART goal means SMART, which means specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. So next is how developing a structure and writing project proposal activities should be logical and systematic. So it also should be aligning with SMART goals. And the key factors for developing structures and activities are who, what, where, and when. So that is like, who are the staffs and volunteers involved in the initiative? What are the steps or activities do you intend to carry out? Where this activity will take place? And when will this be taking place? And why this activity is important? So it is a requirement of WMI planning template to work on developing the structures of activities. And similarly, working with local partners helps to increase proposal visibility and community engagement. So we need to identify and seek partnerships and funding assistance. So for identifying and seeking partnerships, we need to be fully aware of the needs that is related to our complete proposals and that is of common interest with other colleagues or organizations. So they can be friends, co-workers, professors, leaders, NGOs, and CBOs. So similarly, the partnership should be official if your project will be officially doing partnership. So for that, we can include the official name of both of you and your organizations, purpose of the partnerships. So what are the contributions from the both partners? If your project is business based, then there should be allocation of profit and loss, terms and condition of partnerships, and period of agreement. So similarly, while you are seeking for funding sources, it can be financial donations from CBOs, NGOs, individuals, groups, or business. And similarly, the in-kind support is not exactly a cash, but it is a support that you receive from others. For example, like specialized trainers who are donating their time for your cause, and some of the facilities donated by the community members, and as well as like food and refreshment provided by other supporters.
So when you have all those things set in place, so you have the needs assessment, the SMART, you have identified the partners in the community that you're doing the project in, whether business, for profit or non-profit, the community service. What you need to do now is you're going to create a timeline. So this timeline has to be realistic. And what you need to remember when creating the timeline is for all purposes of the CDG, the timeline template will be provided for you. So you have that as a guide, but a guide to help you provide a very realistic timeline. You need to have the project stage. So for instance, it's not a once-off project, it's a one-year project. You can start with the introduction of the stage of the introduction part of the project, where, for example, if you're reaching out to the community, the introduction part would be meeting with community leaders. In my context, it will be, if you're going into the community, you have to meet with community leaders. So that could be a project stage on its own. So describe the task, that is the activity, in detail. Do not assume everyone understands your context. So go into as much details as possible in the task description. So if in that example, you're meeting with the leadership, talk about what the purpose of that meeting is. So you could say, meeting with leaders to get approval of the project. And then the next part is we are going to also assign someone who is a person responsible. So there will be a tab for a person responsible. So remember, you had identified people when you are mapping out your activities, that's staff and volunteers. So ensure that you have audited their skills, you have audited when they'll be available, then assign a person who's most suitable for that task. Then then you need to put in the start date of the event or the activity and the complete date. So for instance, for that example I gave, if you're meeting leaders, if you have to meet leaders for 2 days, you could say an example would be meeting leaders 26th August and maybe 28th August for an example. And then the last part you need to put in is the outcome. So what do you want to get out of that task? So in that example would be getting an approval from the leaders of the community to carry out that project. And then take overall inventory of all your resources. So the resources would be the time that you put in, the finances that you put in, and human resource, that is the volunteers and staff that will be on the project. So that is the realistic timeline. And then when you're done with your planning out your project, which is very, very realistic, so you're not doing guesswork, you're not doing projections. This is because the location that you've chosen, you know the place and you know the seasons, you know everything that might affect your program. So you have done it to the best of your ability. Now you have to design a realistic budget. So what does this mean? It means that if for you to be applying, you want to to be granted funds. So you cannot just say, I want, for argument's sake, $500 US dollars without breaking it down to what that $500 is going to. So the realistic budget will look like this. And again, the CDG application will come with a template for the budget, which will guide you. So you have to put revenue versus expenses. So the revenue is the sources, it's the money itself. So where you're going to get the money, you have to include that. And then the expenses is how you're going to spend that money. So they have to be tied in. One of the things to note here when you're drawing up a budget is that you have to be very transparent in your estimates. So do not underestimate your expenses, or do not overestimate your expenses. So maybe, for example, there might be, especially in the COVID era, some, like in my country, the economy went very bad. So there was a big inflation rates, and then prices went up. So if you could, maybe you could exaggerate maybe by 5%, that could be the most realistic. Do not put more than that percentage, 10%, 20%, or even 50% on that. It might appear very unrealistic. So be very transparent. If possible, explain why that is, why you have estimated your expense, your figures that way. Then list all your revenue sources, that is everything that is received or not. So there will be an example where you have savings, or you are expecting money, someone has pledged some money to your community service or business, so record that as well. Or your family is pledging some money, or you are in a savings group and your share out, that is the money that you get at the end of your cycle, is going towards that project. So please note that in the parentheses as well. So another thing that you should put in the budget is all cash and all in-kind donations. And then one last thing when you're doing the budget is that please itemize everything that you put in the budget. For instance, if you're running a project, you're running a training and you need stationery, do not just put $500 for $500 for books. So put 20 books at $100, for example. So that is how you create the budget.
So it is important to consider how your proposal can be designed to be sustainable. So sustainability is the ability of an initiative to continue its mission to grow. So all the initiative have to end eventually, but the impact should continue, right? So the section for the sustainability pathway should consider to answer the following questions. So first is the duration of your proposal. So it is like for how long it will be ongoing. So what are the measures being put in place so that the initiative should be impactful. So it should be like when the fundraising activities will be done. So will there be any income generating activities to support these ongoing expenses or not? Will there be an ongoing fund raising campaigns beyond this project or not? So you should also have to explain that do you have any volunteers, team members who have shown commitment to continue working in these projects or not? So these are the areas we should work to define that our project is sustainable.
So as part of writing your proposal, it is important to have in mind the measurements and evaluation section. Why? Because this is so important in keeping a track of your proposal efficiency. It makes use of what we call metrics, and these are the exact parameters that are being measured. A good metric indicates change that has occurred before the proposal and after the initiation of that proposal or project or initiative or business. And it has a unit of measure. It's not something that is vague. It's something that can be measured. The number of women trained, for example, the number of scholarships provided, the percentage change in the level of awareness. It's also important to state in writing this section how each one will be measured. Are you going to use a questionnaire? Do you have a feedback form? Exactly how you're going to do the monthly tracking aspect of it.
So now that you have created, you have put together all those narrations, the budgets, and all the components, some of the things that might give your proposal that can prove more credible is supporting documents. So what are these supporting documents? So if you are proposing to start an NGO, or you are running a project using your CBO or NGO, your certificate of registration will be very helpful. The leadership and the board members of your NGO would also be helpful. And then partnerships also. So partnerships agreements that you signed, remember you were talking about, there's a part where we urged in the book, we urged that you consider collaborating with other partners. So partnership agreements that you've already signed will be very helpful. The same with the business. So the certificate according to your country's laws, how you are registered. So that certificate is very helpful, and leaders, the board of directors for the company would be helpful as well. And for both NGO or both community-based and businesses, just your achievements, just brag about what you've done. It's okay to brag about what you've done, because that also gives credit. It makes it makes your achievements, it makes your proposal stand out, because you'll be more trusted to do that community service because you've proved that you've done it before. So those are the things that you can submit as supporting documents when you're applying.
So thank you all very, very much. Today we heard from Phoebe, who just ended. She is our regional coordinator in Central and Southern Africa, Finuela from West Africa, and Sujan, who is our regional coordinator for Asia and Oceania. Throughout this video, our regional coordinators walked you through the handbook, the sections of having a project title that's unique, creating an abstract, developing a needs assessment, writing SMART goals and objectives, how to develop your project activities, seeking partnerships, creating a realistic timeline, a budget, thinking about sustainability and how your proposal can be sustainable, measurement and evaluation, and also extra documents that you can and should submit to increase the credibility of your proposal. So thank you for joining us. Please do access the handbook and know that the Community Development Seed Grant opportunity has 2 application periods every year. One takes place in April and the second takes place in October. In addition to myself, we also have 4 regional coordinators as excellent resources to help you prepare your application. I would definitely recommend that you reach out to your coordinator based upon your region, or you can approach myself to see if there is a particular coordinator who has more expertise or experience in relation to your project focus or your business. So thank you for joining us. We're all here to support you, and we look forward to your application.